Welcome back. You're listening to Sports Talk Saturday. If you're tuning into this show and not connected with me on social media, I would love for you to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. @BladeOfGod is my handle, as I share all things sports on a daily basis. I would love to connect with you over there. Drop me a note, come and say hi. Right, we kick off today's show with some local football news. The SingaCup is a leading youth football tournament that's been going on for more than a decade. And to talk about how they are bringing the event back is Selvakumar, one of the directors of the tournament. Hi, Selva, how are you?
Hi, Sasi. Good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Very good. Thank you. And thanks for taking time to coming back on the show. Let me start by asking you, the SingaCup is back after, I would say, 2 years of this pandemic. How do you feel about that?
It actually I had goosebumps when I stepped onto the pitch to actually set up the logistics. And of course, I think the feeling is really wonderful because we are used to be on the pitch every November, every year since 2011. So I guess the feeling is wonderful. And of course, at the same time, I think it's important for us as event organizers to be able to adapt well in any situation. Like, of course, it's hard to replicate the value of face-to-face interactions and the real-life match experience. Like, football is always played on the field. So it was a challenge for us last year when we did a virtual segment, which, of course, we had a totally new fan base with the virtual segment.
I was going to ask you that in the last 2 years, just that you don't have the tournament, how did you guys keep yourself busy? Because it was such a, I would say, signature event when it comes to youth development here in Singapore. So how did you guys stay relevant?
Yeah, like I said, indeed it was a challenge. We had to think through it. I'm thankful for a strong team behind it. And that's why we came up with the theme last year was resilience and teamwork and determination. So with that in mind, we tweaked the model to a fully virtual one last year with a full esports element. A digital experience. So that's what we did last year. And this year, we remodeled it into a hybrid because the measures have been eased, not fully, but slightly. So we tweaked it in such a way that we have both the physical and the esports element as well.
So I'm seeing this trend happening in Singapore, especially when it comes to event, that a lot of these event organizers, you guys are forced to think about the digital platforms as well, right? Do you think that if the pandemic didn't happen, that would have been a natural progression, or the pandemic forced you guys to think that way?
I would say up to a certain extent, it's a blessing in disguise where the pandemic actually made us think through. And also, I think also made us realize that it's important for us as event organizers to be able to adapt well, no matter how challenging it's going to be. So I think last year's the SingaCup gave us the confidence. So I think that was the reasons why we actually decided to do a hybrid and continue the esports element to it so that we actually can reach and connect to a wider audience, even if they're not based in Singapore. So like, for example, that's how like our virtual meet and greet sessions with like our Olympic Leon footballer, Ali Carpenter, and like Tottenham Hotspur's midfielder Cho. So I think it was quite successful in engaging with our international fans. And also these fans got to speak to them through the online interaction. So basically it's connecting everyone everywhere.
Can it really replace the on-ground, face-to-face element, or is this more to add some value because, we can't meet face-to-face, we can't be on the pitch, the kids can't actually compete against each other? It's more of a, making sure that you're top of mind and creating awareness?
Correct. I mean, it's all about remembering the values of SingaCup. And also, of course, nothing beats your face-to-face interaction. Again, like esports is a totally different thing where they don't meet face-to-face. They meet on the online platform. So I think it's important in both aspects. So, but for us, I think our bread and butter used to be the physical element. But now I think it's quite balanced. We have engaged a wider audience with the pandemic. So it turned out for the better, I guess.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 4v4 because on the 18th and 19th of December, you are running that event. But let's talk about 4v4 competition. How exciting do you think 4v4 will be? Of course, ideally the kids would like to play 7v7 or 9v9, whichever the format is, or even 11, right? For the older boys and girls. What does this 4v4 then bring to this competition?
I mean, traditionally SingaCup is known to be a 11v11 full-on football tournament proper with FIFA rules. But unfortunately, like I mentioned before, with the current safe management measures, it was impossible to run 11 aside. So the best we could come up with was 4v4. I mean, it's not an ideal situation to have, but I think in the current pandemic, slowly but surely, I think so we had to get something moving. So we spoke to, with the help of Singapore Tourism Board, we spoke to the Task Sport and Sports SG, and came up with this 4v4 format.
Talking about that, right? What are you expecting out of this 4v4 fast action? Because over the last couple of weeks, we've seen different versions of it, and it does look as though, obviously it's not ideal, but there seems to be some good competition and good standards as well.
Yeah, I would say because 4v4, the pitch being smaller, so there's more running to be done, and I think it involves your player individual techniques as well. Not so much about your overall tactics in terms of football, like your formation, usual 4-4-2 or 4-3-3. So this is more of everyone has played their part, and there's more running to be done as well.
Let's talk about the other things that you're doing besides the tournament. Of course, I believe you guys are also organizing football camps open to youth and the community as well. So why is this also important for you to organize such things?
Yeah, basically I feel, like SingaCup, like I say, it's a holistic experience. So I believe it's important to have fringe activities as well. So for us, we believe that like sports should be accessible to all children, and regardless of their playing level and ability, like whether you're a professional, whether you just started or you have your passion. So we actually have many valuable lessons that they can learn, which is like beyond the pitch, whether it's the education element or during the camp itself. So for us also, like you mentioned before, kids during the pandemic all stuck at home, can't do much, right? So we also wanted to create something to teach the children skills such as like teamwork, adaptability, and also resilience. So this is why we came up with this SingaCup program, which we actually named it as Cups Go Rawsome. And this Rawsome is in line with our SingaCup Lion, which Ross. So it's an all-inclusive camp for youth. And also we have a segment with special needs, which was done in collaboration with Singa Champs. They actually provide sports and arts training to youths with autism, run by our women's national footballer, Ernie.
Excellent stuff. Really good stuff you guys doing there. Of course, organizing such a big event does come with some challenge and, some issues. What are the biggest challenge that you've been facing and your team has been facing putting this together?
I would say the biggest challenge we face is actually more of the complying with the safe management measures. So it's more about practicality versus the rules set out on paper. But of course, we understand, for every rule, there's a reason behind it. So we had to be in compliance with that. Especially the biggest or the most hardest to absorb was no spectators. At the end of the day, every parent actually wants to see their kid play. And although we are actually going to live stream the matches, I think the impact is totally different. So that was the biggest challenge, I would say. Other than that, logistically, it's more of setting up your different zones so that they don't intermingle, intercross. So all those things were the challenge, I would say.
Yeah, a lot to think about when it comes to organizing event these days. And not to mention your cost goes up as well, right?
Oh, it multiplies huge, even though we don't have the international teams. But yeah, it multiplies more than the usual SingaCup.
Okay. All right. Time for a break. When we come back, we talk about all the other things that's happening around the SingaCup this year. Welcome back. You're listening to Sports Talk Saturday. Joining me on the show today is Selvakumar, one of the directors of the SingaCup. Selva, just before the break, we were talking about all the little details that's gone into putting up this tournament together. But let's also not forget about the fringe activities, because you got some personalities involved in this competition, because Hernani, right? Daphne Koo, you got Irian Fandi, Zaiful Nizam, and many others who are now part of this, I would say, competition and maybe a festival or celebrations of sort. Why was it important for you to have these sort of influencers, if I can call it that way, and maybe these names to add some glamour to the whole event?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, SingaCup actually, it's not just like just a one-off football tournament where you come, kick about, you play, you win a trophy, you move off. No, but it's more of like a football event whereby you have the different elements to it. So we want to entertain by providing something for everyone to enjoy, whether you play esports, whether you play football, or whether you want just to take part in the camp. So many different things for people. And also, I believe all these people will like serve as role models, like what you say, influencers. So I think whether you're not a football fans, we welcome all to tune into the program, and I hope that the audience will enjoy it. And of course, we might even create new fans from there.
What's the thought process behind identifying these names to be part of the SingaCup? Because I'm sure you had a lot of names to choose from. What's the thought process behind that in terms of selecting these names?
I would say, like people like Irian Fandi, Fandi is a household name in Singapore, So I believe everyone knows, and we know the next generation of fundies are coming up. So it's also to give belief and hope to fellow Singaporeans that football lives on, and like fundi, the generation continues, and we hope that it pass on to the younger generations.
Well, as part of this entire experience, if we can call it that way, there's a meet and greet sessions like you mentioned earlier on. And, they, of course, whoever the participants, they get to mingle with the coaches from Tottenham Hotspurs, Olympique Lyon and West Ham. And how did this opportunity come about? There seems to be a lot of work behind the scenes to put this together.
Yeah, it was a challenge because with the ongoing season in Europe, and of course the pandemic, things keep changing. So it was a challenge fitting everybody's schedule. But again, thankfully for the pandemic, we are able to meet virtually. So we managed to get Ali Carpenter and the Tottenham Hotspurs midfielder Cho to come on board to have an online conversation. So this was done over the last few days. And it was a live meet and greet session. So they actually shared stories about their football from their own experiences. And they also actually gave some advice to aspiring young athletes. So I think it was a privilege for me to have the three of them join us virtually. And again, this is where I see the value of having an online element to our event, as you're able to have these international stars come and chat with the football community.
What sort of feedback do you get after the interaction, and how many people typically join this sort of online sessions?
So the session is live, but so in terms of, we ran a contest whereby people had to submit entries to have a live meet and greet. So we created a virtual room. So the winner gets to ask a few questions directly to the stars itself. So as a whole, I think we had almost 1,000 odd viewers over each day for the sessions.
Right. And talking about the SingaCup this year, what are your expectations? What are you looking to get out of the SingaCup this year? Another unique year, 4v4, not ideal, but at least you get going. What's your personal expectation about this?
I mean, for me, it's like as we continue to battle the pandemic, which doesn't seem to end for now. So I really hope that this SingaCup actually can be the first step in the right direction for actually sporting events as you work together to navigate these challenging times. So I really hope that, of course, I have to thank Singapore Tourism Board for their continued support, and also the stakeholders who actually helped to make this event a reality. So something for the kids to actually come and play, and good for their well-being as well.
So what sort of conversations do you have with the stakeholders? Do they set you KPIs? Do they set you some indicators to achieve? Or do they just say, let's just organize something because we need to get Singapore going again?
I would say it's the latter. It's more to keep people's hope high, and also for their mental well-being. Because of how tough it is to be confined in your own HDB flat and not being able to kick about. So I think in that aspect, I think they're quite supportive. And of course, for every event, there's a purpose behind doing the event. So this also to showcase that all is not lost, but we can actually do event in a pandemic as well. With safe management measures in place.
Let's talk about the future then. Do you think that the future editions of the SingaCup will still be hybrid events, or what do you make of it?
Like I mentioned, I think so. With this pandemic, actually, we have widened our audience reach. So I think definitely there's value in both the face-to-face interactions at the physical event as well as the virtual engagement. So I think for sure we'll continue to explore how we can incorporate both elements at the future editions of SingaCup so that we can deliver an exciting, entertaining and a safe experience for all our fans and our participants.
Sorry, I also believe that you've got a corporate social responsibility program going on alongside the SingaCup. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So like the SingaCup, we actually believe that we are stronger together and no one should be left behind. So that's why this year we've decided to partner with our Children's Aid Society to provide youths under their care the chance to be part of the SingaCup family. And we'll also be raising funds through the SingaCup Children's Aid Society fundraising campaign that's going to take place for the next 2 months. And we're also running a football camp for them the next year, first quarter as well.
What's the motivation behind that? I know that you guys are big on giving back to the community, but why specifically this initiative?
So traditionally every year we actually adopt a charity as part of our SingaCup Foundation and SingaCup Corporate Social Responsibility. So usually we do it internationally. So every year we travel, we select a country, we go to the orphanage, and we actually run a football camp, and also we contribute some amount as well. So this year, of course, with borders all being closed, and we had to do something as well. So we also wanted to contribute back to the locals as well. So we tied up with our Children's Aid Society.
How do they play a role in this then?
Yeah, so Children's Aid Society, they have the kids will be actually taking part in a football camp that's going to be run by SingaCup, and we'll get our local national football stars to actually spearhead the football camp next year first quarter. I mean, suppose we're doing it this year in conjunction with SingaCup, but unfortunately the Suzuki Cup in place, the players are not allowed to move, so we will actually delay it to next year first quarter.
So before I let you go, final question for you. In the ideal world, how would you see this SingaCup, this 2021 edition finishing?
In an ideal, okay, basically I just want all the kids to have fun amidst all these tough conditions. And also I really hope parents will understand that the rules for no spectatorship allowed. So I just hope to get their support, and they should just catch all the action on SingaCup.com Facebook page and the YouTube channels for the various live streaming.
Okay, sounds exciting, Selva. I wish you the very best, and I'll be tuning in for sure.
Thanks for supporting, and thanks for having me in the show, Sasi. Thank you.